Date. So I told her that it was okay and that I understood where she was coming from, so I would obviously pay for myself. She was a little surprised when I said that it was all fine, and I could tell that this was not the reaction that she had hoped for, but I didn't stick around to talk to her afterward and headed back home. It was all I could do to keep myself from bursting into tears as soon as I came home, but I tried to be calm and explain everything to my husband when he saw that I was visibly upset and asked me what had gone down at his mother's house. He was furious and told me that he was going to cancel the vacation then and there because he had no interest in spending any more time with his mother after the way she had insulted me. And then I told him that I had suspected that she didn't like me for quite some time, but I never brought it up because it was just a dumb theory that I had come up with to explain why she was always so cold to me. But now I was beginning to feel that it wasn't just a theory after all, and there might be some truth to it. I explained to him how his mother's behavior towards me had changed when he moved out to live with me, and she started acting cold towards me after that. Also, what she had said about me not being close enough to be considered family because I didn't visit them often, all pointed towards the same explanation. When I told him about it, he said that it could be true because he had always known that family meant a lot to his mother and she wanted him to at least live nearby. And she had been pretty upset when he had first told her that he would be moving out to live with me and that he didn't want to rent a house closer to home because he needed his personal space. Even though Sandra hadn't shown it at the time, she probably blamed me for it and was still holding it against me, which explained her behavior. However, that was still not an excuse to be so cruel to me and try to humiliate me right before we left for our vacation. I felt awful that day, and while we were talking, my husband and I decided that canceling the vacation and telling her off just wasn't good enough because I wanted her to feel just as bad as I had felt. So he and I decided that we would go along with their plan and meet at the airport the next day, but instead of accompanying them, we would just take a flight somewhere else and leave them at the airport. By the time they could understand what was going on, it would be too late and we would already be someplace else by then. It was a perfectly foolproof plan, and we went through with it and got back to Sandra the very next day. We met the family at the airport, just as we had planned, but then we excused ourselves saying that we wanted to get some photos clicked and walked away. They did not suspect a thing because they were too busy talking among themselves, so we headed over to the counter and purchased us 2 tickets to a flight that would take off the earliest and to a desirable destination. We ended up picking San Francisco, and right now, we're here and it's really fun. We were supposed to go to Miami, but I prefer this because it's just me and my husband, without anyone who doesn't like me. Of course, by the time we had purchased the tickets and taken our seats on the flight, his family had figured out that something was off and tried to call us several times. They had even texted us, but we had just ignored all of it. Luckily, an airport is a pretty big place and they were not able to find us in time to stop us or confront us, and we were able to reach our destination without much drama. Once our flight landed, we finally decided to get back to them, and my husband told everybody the truth in the family text thread. He told them about what Sandra had said to me the day before and said that since this was supposed to be a family vacation and I wasn't family, we had decided that we had better stay out of this altogether, out of respect for her. We had expected Sandra to be mad at us and maybe my father-in-law, but we hadn't expected the entire family to turn against us. Everybody seemed pretty mad because we had abandoned them at the airport and they had been worried sick for us. They had still taken their flight though, so I don't understand what they were so pissed about. Anyway, they told us that it was really irresponsible and selfish of us to just go MIA without a word and leave them wondering about us. They were especially upset with me because they didn't think that Sandra's words warranted such extreme action. They believed that I shouldn't even have thought that they were going to cover for me to come on the family vacation. And that it had been my mistake not to offer to pay for myself and just assume that I could come with them for free, seeing as how I hadn't made an effort to really become a part of the family. They said that I hadn't ever tried to attend their weekly family dinners or even keep in touch with them online and chat with them every day, which they do. Apparently, it felt like I had no time for them, and while they respected that, they couldn't allow me to use them and treat them like banks. That is why Sandra had felt the need to clarify that they were not going to be paying for me to join them on the vacation, simply because I hadn't made an effort to get along with them, and neither had I even offered to pay for myself. I felt really insulted because I earned my own money and I would never expect somebody else to pay for me. So for them to imply that I was being entitled and self-centered was really not okay with me. I told them that their expectations were absolutely unrealistic and didn't even make sense. They claimed that they had dinner together weekly, but it was really every other day, and it was completely unfair of them to expect my husband and I to drive all the way to their house after work and have dinner with them so often. We wanted some personal space, and yet we still tried our very best to visit them at least once every 1 or 2 weeks, so they wouldn't feel bad. And this had been going on since way before we were even married. I felt like they were totally overlooking that on purpose, just to make it feel like I was in the wrong here when I really wasn't, and I knew it. So I reminded them exactly how hard I had tried to become a part of their family to the best of my abilities, and if that was still not enough for them, then there was not much that my husband and I could do now. They were pissed and said that we were being immature and had ruined their vacation with our selfishness. Ida for going away with my husband, separately from his family?